And they're like, Wardy, I've got the perfect thing for you. I was like,
Oh,
nice.
no.
And I was like, cool. Like, you know, we were giving out like t-shirts and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'll take a free t-shirt. Got a fedora. I was like,
Did they low-key insult you?
I
They were like,
didn't really.
Wardy, this is perfect for you.
I was just sad because I really thought I was about to get like a cool t-shirt like everyone else. And I was like, I'm never going to wear this past this moment. So, bottom left to kickstart us into our next round of the lower bracket. For the second time today, we do have our purple Terran player from Onside Gaming. It is Maru.
In the top right, as the yellow Terran for Shopify Rebellion, it is ByuN.
So, we got to cast one ByuN TVT today. It is full of a couple fun moments, right? A little bit of aggression from him at times that won him games. A lot of, I would say, fairly solid openings from ByuN, but failure to capitalize sometimes as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Failure to capitalize. Kind of dot the I's, cross the T's type of situation. Yeah. So missing some scouting there, some units over there, a Sensor Tower fast enough in one of them, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. And that's why I said at the end that while it's great that he got past Gumiho, he's already a step forward. The fact that he's going against Maru next, those are the types of things that I feel like you can't actually let fall through the cracks against Maru. Like against Gumiho, especially as both players I feel like are also types that can thrive in weird scenarios. I mean, you could just, you kind of like are throwing the ball back and forth almost. But for Maru, you're gonna throw the ball at him, and he's gonna like catch it and like hold it and run away with it, and just gonna be like, that was my ball,
He just
man.
catches
like,
the ball. He's like, this is my game now.
Yeah, this is my ball, and he just turns around. Exactly. So that's why I'm a bit concerned for ByuN coming in here. On the other hand, for I guess the same scenario that we're talking about, there's always that chance that it does unsettle Maru enough that ByuN is able to capitalize, right? If it's fast enough, momentum's on his side, perhaps he can go ahead and basically cut the head off the snake before Maru does his thing, which is come back in a game, in every game that he plays in TVT.
Now that is some close player versus player matches here. 8-7 in favor of Maru.
That must be overall like through their careers, right? It was a lot of games.
Yeah.
Because Maru doesn't play a lot of online cups.
No, he really doesn't.
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of a wild ride looking at their history, because that would be back from 2010.
Yeah.
Cray.
You know what, CGU talk, I'll investigate.
Yeah, okay. You go ahead and investigate.
You piqued my interest, you know?
Yeah.
I was ready to let it slide, but now you're like, it's the entire history, and I'm like, well, I've got to know.
Or maybe of Legacy of the Void, actually, because Legacy of the Void's been out for 7 years at this point.
Yeah.
So
ByuN was gone for a couple, though.
That's, well, basically for the first year. And then he came in around, like, after a year. Because I remember we're still having trouble with Zerg Ultra Armor.
Yeah, but then ByuN also did his military.
So you're right. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, of course. I was thinking of the time that he just left without any reason, seemingly, and then he came back for Legacy of the Void. Anyways, old history. We do have the openers kind of actually developed. Nothing super early on to pinpoint who has gotten ahead. So the command centers, roughly the same. Starports, actually much faster for ByuN.
Wow. This is actually crazy, but ByuN and Maru never played before Legacy.
You know what? That's actually not surprising to me.
Yeah, I guess not, but I just thought they went back so far they probably would have done. Yeah. No, just a note. Yeah, Maru's won a bunch in a row, by the way, as well. He's won 5 in a row, but the one that ByuN won was in that finals, that Asus ROG finals.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one that ByuN won since he got back from the military, so that was a pretty fun, but also online late at night. Maru isn't always the best in weird conditions. That sometimes includes offline foreign tournaments, right? So stuff that's not in Korea, as he starts out here with a pretty rough set of attempts on the Reapers, and yeah, loses all 3, gets a couple SCVs. Not ideal.
Not exactly, no. There was going to be limited use of those units the farther the game got, though. It's kind of the other argument. So at least something was done with them, and then maybe even... Is one still even alive for scouting?
He has a Hellion, right?
Exactly. So the question is, did he get in and see that a starport didn't have something on it? Did he know there was going to be a medevac on the way? He currently doesn't have a unit. He actually does have a unit somewhere, yeah. It was near the supply depot. So the Cyclone is now on patrol. That should be enough. I don't know if it should be enough to deter it. It's pretty close, yeah. Okay, ByuN just doesn't even chance it.
Yeah, I'm not going to take any chances at all. I'm going to stop by a little party going on here on Tropical Sacrifice. And yeah, ByuN just going to keep rallying units across the map, by the way. So continue to send things out across to the bottom left and see if he can maybe find an opening, find a position to make something happen. Or if he'll just end up taking position and maybe trying to slow down third, make sure it's not in position or something like that, right? Maru's third is way faster so far.
That's just what I was going to say as well.
No. Stole your point.
Where is it?
Yeah, where is actually the third CC? Like, he's got the money.
He's focusing on the attack, which is immediately shot at by a tank, so that's kind of a no-go. And it didn't really help distract, I think, for the Raven, which, I mean, it probably shouldn't go in there anyways. Cyclone's still there. Now the command center is going to come down on location, which actually is beautiful, even if it was a little bit later past the 400 mineral mark. It's still beautiful that ByuN has the map control. It's going to get that faster third command center and might even still get some damage done. The Cyclone, I mean, it's only one unit, right? Maybe the Raven because in the auto turret, then the medevac, or even vice versa. He wants to protect that Wood of Mine.
Yeah, I mean, kind of annoying, right? Forces another unit just to split ahead. Raven was turned around by the Cyclone, is still alive, but of course half HP, so a little bit vulnerable. Got to be careful with it. Looks as though for the most part we're just going to start pulling back. Looks like the mine is off to a somewhat random direction, just try and pick off something a bit later on that maybe Maru's not aware of. And still just trying to poke around here with these few units. ByuN refusing to go back home, as Maru does something less army supply, which is going to make it a little bit tough maybe to get that third base up and running for himself.
Well, this is kind of turning into how expected, which is a little bit more of the aggression from ByuN and a little bit more of the defense from Maru. He is actually going to get into the main base with the Raven, something that ByuN was not successful in doing. Maybe grab 2 SCVs. That is one. Okay.
Yep, just going to be able to grab one straight away. Tank is going to siege, and the auto turret taking a little bit more damage. A couple SCVs go down. I mean, getting 2 is nice. He's going to come back in to force the lost mine time. Oh, he put it quite far back to try and obviously keep it out of range of the tank. He still gets 2 more kills. A little bit unfortunate for ByuN, because he even pulled SCVs to repair. So then they're not mining anyway. They could have just ran away and saved at least an extra one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he does fall a little, literally a little, like 2 SCVs behind. He has that third command center now finishing as an orbital on location. Gonna take this engagement as well. Auto turrets aplenty coming down. Decent concave, good micro with the medevac as well from ByuN. The good target fire there from Maru, I believe, as well, though. Got rid of his opponent's tanks. Maybe there's a little less anchoring this push, but the push maybe doesn't need an anchor. It just literally blitzes it into the natural, grabs a handful of SCVs, might have to retreat now, but that's not exactly the breakout that Maru was hoping for. It's not a breakout at all.
No, not at all. Takes a bunch of damage, still down in army supply. I do think the target fire on the tank was very important, because otherwise ByuN's still sieged up there. He's still just chipping away at CC, maybe a couple more SCVs. He's still forcing something from Maru, whereas now he's had to back off completely. So, yeah, nice target fire from Maru. Like you said, it was a very important moment. We come out of this, Maru is still down a Raven overall. Obviously, we'll be regenerating some energy on those. Oh, the full medevac gets caught, and it looks as though it doesn't have a boost, although we'll get out of range, and we'll just try and shut this Cyclone down. But good catch from Maru, because obviously the last thing you want right now is a medevac in your main, killing a few extra SCVs while you've been so late to take your third in position already.
Speaking of late things, Stim not even halfway done for ByuN. Although his upgrades are kind of on their way. Like, I guess they might turn out okay if he's really fast about getting 2-2. That Stim and thus the combat shield is a little bit worrying. With Maru on the defensive, maybe this is not so much an issue of ByuN being caught off guard and losing his third base or SCV, something like that, but it might be that he can't actually crack Maru's defenses back on Maru's side of the base. But Maru coming in with a double drop when ByuN was apparently least expecting it. Everything is out of position. A tank does siege up, but it can only cover so much. Are we gonna have a dive into the main base? No, a nice safe retreat after getting the damage done.
Yeah, ByuN at least not losing SCVs, so forced off the base, forced off the mining time, but yeah, can at least keep the SCVs alive so it can reset that there. Obviously, he's got that stim pack about to finally finish, and he is starting to play the catch-up in the upgrades, but also needs his armory to be done so he can start 2-2, and these are just the little things that definitely give him Maru edges. He's now moving across the map. He's actually going to stim up. He fully believes in his Matrix on this tank. He matrixes one to the right side as well. What does he have for the last tank? Nothing just yet, but he does have target fire onto it. His Marines are getting battered, however, pushing up this position. So choky, so tough to get through. And this one last tank from ByuN is going to fall, however, and Maru is going to have the high ground to work with. Tanks advancing forward, and this third base is now in more serious trouble than it was just a few moments ago when it had to retreat away for a little bit, and my goodness, that third nearly went down even.
Yeah, that was really, really close. I'm not sure what happened. The interference matrix tank was not actually in siege mode, right? So it could have moved.
Oh, really?
I thought so, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was actually
just a lot
like
going on.
transformation or something. The point is, like, one extra tank sieging right after the Matrix maybe would have held, but having to wait for the reinforcing tanks makes this a lot more awkward, and I think Maru did hit at the exact right time. I mean, everything combined together, the Raven usage, his tanks, his focus fire, and of course the combat shields.
Combat shields, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really tough thing for ByuN to deal with. Would have been completely possible if he was in position 100% from the get-go, but he wasn't. He was just a little late to it.
I wonder if combat shields really was the big decider as well at the very end. Like, it was the straw that broke Camel's back, right? Because I just feel like it was that one extra little something where the Marines could have held a bit longer.
Yeah.
They could have done a little bit more. You get out the matrices, and it's a different fight. Just don't feel like Maru should have been able to bust up here, but that's the power of Maru. He will expose any little timing that he has, and obviously right now he's not going to let ByuN get out of his grip, as Maru is up in supply, up in workers, 4th base, landing, everything coming through. I say landing, just building in location, as we are going to be seeing this army coming up the ramp, but we're actually going to jump back up on this and just see those, okay.
Yeah, maybe we're just focused on the end of the game, because it might be happening. Maru is not quite able to get into that natural, but taking down again a lot of those tanks. ByuN, of course, sees the writing on the wall, is going to go ahead and tap out. Maybe now we can look at the replay, but Maru.
Maru's giggling,
Yeah,
man.
he's little good.
I actually don't think I've ever seen Maru that emotional.
That's so...
Ever. Like, especially during a series.
Yeah, well... Yeah,
I wonder what ByuN's saying to him.
Yeah, right? Like...
We need in-booth audio right now. Or maybe Maru just finds it fun.
He's not even saying anything.
Alright, well, that is going to be our first game wrapped up. Maru just has that way in TVT, right? It's like, oh, I'm in a bit of trouble. Oh, I just about defend. And I'm just going to push across the map and kill you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, again, if he didn't kill that one tank, ByuN's probably still there, being really annoying in that situation. So, yeah.
You know, I was just thinking, so Wardy said, like, oh, if only we could hear, and production was like, we'll let you guys know.
We actually can, like...
Yeah, we actually can, but I was like, but they're going to speak Korean, Wardy. Like, what do you expect
well,
from this?
Yeah, I know, but now people can hear. You mean you don't speak good enough Korean yet, ZG?
I'm sorry, my tutor's trying to teach me, but...
I still feel it's kind of cool that they just sat there talking to each other.
I feel like this is when we go, like, Mystery Science Theater. That would probably be pretty rude, though.
Alright, well, they seem in pretty good spirits, considering the, I mean, even for ByuN, considering the first game. Obviously a tough one. ByuN probably came into this like saying, yeah, I can get past Gimme Hug, let's do that, and let's just see what happens after. Whether it's Hero, whether it's Maru, right, whoever I had to play is going to be tough. GSL finalists. So, yeah, let's just see what we can do. I feel like ByuN will be pretty happy the fact he just got past Gumiho already and gets a chance to play here.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can pull an upset at all against Maru. Like I say, Maru's TVT. Maybe not as unbeatable as it was a year ago or so, but right now, it's still pretty freaking good.
Yeah, maybe not literally unbeatable for like a year or however long it was.
It was a crazy streak. Yeah. And it just looked it looked like that as well, right? It's just, you know, games when he was behind, it's like, cool, 20, 30, sometimes like against Hero Marine Katowice, right, like 50 supply behind, it's like, I'll just sit here, defend, wait, utilize the power of TVT, and now take advantage of the moment.
That's why I gotta wonder what's like being the other Terran up against Maru, because... You know, ByuN, I would say, could be happy with how some of that game went, and maybe even looking at like, of course I should have been there faster. That's a silly mistake, and then I kind of panicked afterwards. Because I do think there was a little bit of panic after that. But let's say that you're like, yeah, one mistake. Everything else would have been fine. The thing is that it very well might not have been. ByuN was still down in upgrades. He was losing control of the map anyways, if Maru like really did that much damage or not. And then you have to face Maru into mid to late game TVT, which is still super intimidating. So at what point does ByuN figure that he's got the best shot? Maybe that is early game. And it was okay. It was, you know, there's some decent stuff there, but it's really hard to actually kill a Terran in TVT, much less Maru.
Absolutely. Let's do some introductions in the bottom left. Our purple Terran player from Onside Gaming is indeed Maru.
In the top right for Shopify Rebellion, it is ByuN.
See if ByuN can fight back out of this one-game deficit. Day to see. Well, you know, we just came off of Tropical, which is Kind of similar to Data C, right? 4 bases, somewhat easy to take. A little bit spread out when it comes to TVT defending them, but up ramps, defendable, larger map. In theory, in a lot of ways, this should look maybe somewhat similar, but of course, with how TVT goes, the openings can be completely different as well, and it really makes some fun stuff happen.
Yeah. Actually, the last game, the openers, I mean, kind of, again, it was kind of maybe not the most important thing. The 2 SCVs went down. The Reaper Hellion wasn't super useful, but it did something. And then more so, there was the problem of getting the 3rd CC on location. That's where ByuN really seemed to finally get something truly going for him. A bit of a contain on the guy, but that doesn't necessarily have to happen in every single game, right? So, I mean, Maru could definitely change things up. ByuN ditto, both of them certainly capable of doing proxies. I would say all lanes, but that's not really pros in TVT, you know?
Yeah.
There's always a way to finagle your way out of things.
There is always a way. As our factory starts up, these two are going to mirror each other so far, not taking any risks. Over 1 gas expand. It's playing it pretty safe, pretty steady. We'll see what kind of Reaper Hellion counts we're going to be working with here as those initial structures to finish their first units. It's an immediate reactor from Maru. Now, ByuN goes second Reaper, which means straight away he's going to have an extra Reaper. But as time passes by, that's where Maru is going to get the reactor, then he can react to Reapers, and so he will actually have a better timing than ByuN at some point. So this is really a game of different kind of points of the game right now. So we will see if Maru can do anything with it. If he wants to try and do anything with it, usually you do go like 3 Hellions, at least 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions here, and sometimes even 5 and 3.
I was seeing how long Maru's Terran win streak was again, because obviously it was broken. And then it was broken again by Cure back in January. Since then, he's won like 10 matches. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then he again lost to Bunny. Something about Bunny, man. I don't know what it is. But not many people get to defeat Maru. It's kind of the points. I love that one of these is, by the way, Protoss versus Terran. Maru played Protoss in that one
against Percival.
Yeah, against Percival, exactly.
That was on TSL qualifier.
That's right, yeah, of course, yeah. Not bringing it out here today, though.
Can you imagine? I was just like, all right, ByuN, I'm 2-0 up. It's time to see if you can at least TVP me out of this.
Maybe when he is 2-0 up.
Yeah, I don't think Maru
No,
has
I don't think so.
He doesn't have the character like Reno does.
Yeah, not quite the showman.
Yeah.
Kind of get it done. Medevac's on the way for ByuN, as Maru once again can try and get some damage done with some of the earlier units. Is there potential for this?
He's going to give up a Hellion.
Does ByuN have?
ByuN has
Hellion.
a couple of Reapers, a Hellion. So we get a couple shots off. Hellion goes down. Nice grenade, though.
Yeah, actually. Yes. Could maybe even see you that way. Save it.
Okay. Well, that was 2 Reapers and 2 Hellions of Maru for a Reaper Hellion and a Widowmine of ByuN. Not good, because obviously you basically trade like a Hellion and 2 Reapers for a Hellion and 1 Reaper, because you already got the Widowmine kill. So, not great. The Reaper comes into the back, buys a little bit of time, try and delay ByuN from coming across the map to put some pressure on after you've lost units, as ByuN is going to be the first to start a Raven after he's already got a little medevac that's pushing across the other side. Now, Maru's getting a medevac too, which is obviously interesting because it seems that he wants to keep up some pressure himself.
All right. I mean, the plan, and it could work out too, deal with this medevac, either have it hovering somewhere, and it's not a lot, so even if it's hovering like later in the game, it's not a big deal, or send it back home, in which case it might be awkwardly timed on the unload, while Maru goes across the map and does his damage. So, actually, it was kind of funny. I didn't expect Maru to show the medevac there, so that didn't work out maybe as well as he was hoping in that regard, but yeah, now there's the pushback. And the question is, does Maru just stay at home, take a chill pill, not play this dangerously? Or does he also load up? And it looks like he is moving.
Yeah, he is off and away across the map, but this medevac's going to come back in. And Maru has just turned around as well, actually. So he's on his way back with the units that were a few steps outside of the natural, and that's why ByuN's going to get some time here. He lines up an auto turret already. Really good chance for ByuN to get some damage done, as he's just going to take a fight. Medevac there, healing already. Maru's just a little bit further back. And Maru's just having an awful time here. Now there's the auto turret in the main base that's active during this as well. I was
going to say, like, my ideal scenario for Maru could have played out, but this is like the opposite. This is the awkward, no, I'm going to go, no, I'm going to stay back, no, I'm going to go. Just not expecting ByuN, I guess, to come back in when he did. I was hoping to, catch, again, that more awkward moment of him returning home. So that's a decent amount of damage. Maru now down, 5 workers, maybe an extra couple, maybe supply blocks. That's ByuN supply block, actually. Look at it. He gets on supply block right now. But anyway, he still has the medevac alive too, and the Raven's still alive as well. Maru, it just really sucks, you know, because if this was happening when he was, you know, not intending to go across the map either, and he's just like, oh, this is really annoying, fine enough. But this means that he's taking damage and he's not getting anything done with the opening he chose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this is really horrible for Maru. 8 workers down, 11 army down as well. Sometimes when you drop down in work, it's like, well, I killed some army in him doing that, right? So I have an army lead, so I can maybe counter, but that's not going to be there at all. So Maru's going to be playing from behind on pretty much all fronts. Raven count he is catching up on, but still having to produce an extra Raven right now, while ByuN's already on 3. So ByuN's going to have more Raven energy. He's going to have Vikings much sooner. His stim pack's already starting. ByuN is really just steps ahead in every aspect of the game right now. I don't think there's a single portion of this that Maru's really got a lead in.
Nope, doesn't seem that way. Leading Cyclones.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's got a Cyclone extra.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Now, he's even ahead when it comes to the actual barracks production. So he's going to be producing more Marines faster, having more army as the game goes on. And that's well, okay. He's actually trying to bust this? I don't know about that. I was going to say that's going to be amazing if he just kind of plays this out well, right? Then he might get a little bit of a contain into having his opponent get a slow with 3rd. But then he thought he could go for the kill move in the natural, which I just really wasn't expecting. And yeah, it's just pushed back. So it opens up a little more space.
We are of Maru's later game. Like
maybe
it's like you just have to go right now. I actually don't even know if I would have hated that if it was a couple Matrixes maybe. I know you would have got auto-turreted against, maybe you Matrix, you back away from the turrets a bit. I don't know, I just felt like there he was like walking in, the tanks and turrets get to fire, and obviously the tanks just target fired his own tanks, so it wasn't exactly pretty. And he still maintains a lead. Still workers ahead, army ahead, and all these upgrades ahead that we were talking about before as well.
He's getting 2 armories. That's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, that's something. I wonder if he's actually going to upgrade for both of them. They seem timed together, kind of.
Yeah.
We will see. We'll check back in. But anyways, yeah, ByuN's attack onto the natural, maybe it wasn't actually the greatest, you know? Because whatever it got, I guess what it didn't get is, well, a game ending, right? Didn't get the win. But then it also kind of lost him, I think, that fear that until you actually try and punch the guy and they dodge, they're like, oh, this guy's going to punch me. I'm going to be scared of it. Yeah, Maru just dodged, kind of, and then took his 3rd CC, no problem. Feel like the alternative? Oh, no! Okay, Stimpack just got denied.
Wow.
Oh, boy. I was going to say the alternative is that ByuN contained a little bit more and just, you know, played out the longer game, but as you said, maybe scared of Maru while killing his stim, delaying stim and combat shields. That's absolutely brutal. ByuN could actually win now with a 20 army supply lead, which is about what he has.
Yeah, just having stim is absolutely massive, and he's obviously got the Ravens as well. Plus, those Ravens and Maru dropped multiple turrets to try and defend stim, so it's a little bit less energy they have to auto-turret during a fight as well. Also, potentially a factor here, although he is a Raven ahead, so he's got that advantage. That's the one thing that Maru maybe has right now, is we are going to see ByuN looking to move forward and seeing if he can do something. Obviously, he would prefer to not have a fight until he has combat shields, because then he's got all of the leads in the Marines, because he's going to start shutting down a couple of reactors here. And yeah, Maru's going to at least hold the air control and try and force him back a little bit. Just try and scare ByuN off, but I mean, I think ByuN's pretty happy. He's just killed 2 reactors as well. Looking pretty good, and he's actually got an army to the top side, so he could come in for a little bit of a sandwich from either side. He's actually just going to load up into the main. Maybe a tank siege is up here, and he can hit the mineral line. The Ravens come to respond. Stim's going to get denied a second time, it would seem. The Marines will just target that down. And again, all of the Raven energy being used to kill basically 1 tank. Wow. Should just give ByuN an opportunity elsewhere as he's killing off SCVs. He is not letting this game slip away from his grasp.
Well, he's trying not to, right? But here is now the Maru problem, which is that it seems like you have every reason to win the game, and then you give yourself even more reasons, actually, and you still can't quite do it, and you're still going into a max out versus max out situation. I'm kind of still scared of that because, I mean, I think Maru, he was already, you know, trying to handle the fact he wouldn't have stim. He wouldn't have very good Marines. So he handled it pretty well there, using the Ravens, go up in the main base, try and take care of it mostly, and then having still his tanks sieged up. Again, the Marines, you can't really depend on them right now. And then going into 2 factory tanks, I think, quicker. I'm not sure exactly when he got the 2nd factory, but the point is he has it, and it's going to really help cover, again, what are very subpar Marines.
Yeah, that leverage is going to buy you a little bit of time as well as you lose a couple SCVs. ByuN going to get out of there, just continue to maintain control. He is at max supply. And Maru still doesn't have stim. Still has to try and figure that one out. At least should get to it this time, I'd say. Got turrets in position. Hopefully stop a drop from getting in there, as ByuN's going to move out and take a 5th on location. That's how confident he's feeling. And he's not wrong. Like, he's got the map control. He's got the power to do that.
It'd also be funny for Maru to get like this amazing 2 medevac drop completely unnoticed by ByuN, and then Unstim Marines come out. It's like, well,
it's like,
okay.
Cool. It's like, you tickle my production.
I guess. I'd still be good on like a undefended base, but
Yeah.
yeah, really it would only be good at canceling that 5th. Of course, could take on a planetary, could take on reinforcements. ByuN is once again pushing in, triple interference matrix, both of them getting painted orange as well. Maru, I think he has enough supply to hold because there's a planetary health, and because he's already invested a decent amount into the air as well, that we can't underestimate his potential for defense. And the main base is going to be compromised, but only by 1 medevac. Missile turrets is able to take out one of them, making this a bit less of a problem. And again, Maru going to be tested on how he splits the army, but he's really good at it. Kind of like taking things as patiently as possible, even though he is behind. He's not going to panic and let it go even farther. So it's taken a little while, and I've got 11 SCVs killed, but it's better than panicking and losing that 4th base.
Yeah, 14 SCVs going down. I mean, like you say, Maru's just going to make him work for it, right? ByuN doing the right things, but again, when Maru's playing, he just isn't going to like... And look at what Maru's doing, 2 more starports. It's just like, yeah, you know, you try and kill me, you keep on trying to kill me. If you just do it one too many times, I'm set up into Ravens and Vikings and air control, and that's a mistake that ByuN could absolutely make.
How many? Okay, he's on 8 barracks. Yeah, because ByuN, I think he decided to go into all extra barracks.
Yeah.
Literally the decision really is at that point 3 extra barracks or 2 extra starports. One is more technically masterful, the other one has more momentum and mobility, which I think ByuN was not only going for because he is that type of player, we talked about that before, but because it is certainly an option for someone who is ahead in a TVT, just to continue producing units and trying to take these engagements. But at the end of the day, theoretically that Viking Raven tank combination is supposed to be better, as long as it's not like completely surrounded or in like a weird like base trade scenario or something like that. So the point is, I feel like ByuN has already missed his timing. Like 4 bases are situated for Maru, and we are just going to get into late game TVT, air versus air, and ByuN cannot crack the 4 bases, probably won't be able to crack a 5th. At best, he might be able to take a really amazing engagement in the middle of the map.
Yeah, do you see this army of ByuN coming through the bottom? Is trying to set up, trying to find something, probably 3-3 as well, by the way. So huge timing there. Marines will be that much more effective if Marines get to fight other Marines dropping on the other side at the same time. And that's going to be cleaned up pretty quickly. It really feels like this is just going to turn into one of those games where Maru is kind of just going to get his way. I mean, these Marines will trade out for tanks, don't get me wrong, but do we really love it? Like, the supply is going to go massively in Maru's favor. Yeah, he's down on bases, but this is how Maru gets back into these games. ByuN now going for his double starport is just going to be so much later on that transition, off of less army supply. Maru's army is better as well as being larger. Yeah, there's just nothing really going well here. Sieges up tanks in range of a Liberator too, and this really was kind of ByuN, I think, showing us, like, hey, I'm terrified of playing a long game against Maru. I need to end this any way I can. That push into the natural, the, 8 racks, let's end the game. And yeah, that's kind of how ByuN plays generally. But in this case, he really could have just sat back more.
I also don't, again, I really want to emphasize, I think you're right, just because you're also considering that push into the natural. It was like, but I think also, to really give ByuN credit of not just being like, oh, he only knows how to be aggressive, right? I think it was theoretically a great move, because what Maru does, or what Terrans do in general, I guess, maybe Maru started it, but everyone's picked up on it, is that they have a decent number of air units to begin with, and they just kind of like try and fill up with tanks and Vikings so that they don't get beat to that Viking punch anyways. Not as hardcore as possible, as we have another scuffle actually going really, really well for Maru. Yeah. So anyways, what ByuN maybe was hoping was that he'd be able to just outmass tank Viking, basically, right? Which I think is possible. Those Vikings are going to help on the ground. The Ravens do a little bit, but even depends on how many are still alive. And then it's really about the tanks, which you might be able to overpower. But it just didn't happen. The supply wasn't that big of a gap, not big enough. And when we saw him try with the drop on the 3rd base and the attack on the 4th, you could see how a worse player, either in a more difficult position or just not Maru, could have messed that up. But Maru did not, so he's continuing not to mess up too poorly. This does seem like an okay opportunity for ByuN, but 3-3 kicks in for Maru. The rest of the army comes forward. Interference, Mitchell coming down as well, and he thought there was a bit of an opening. Apparently there wasn't.
No, I don't disagree. This looked very hopeful again for ByuN, but Maru is just so good at these fights. And he's got all the tools needed. He's got the Ravens, he's got a Liberator mixed in there in case he needs to siege. He just got the Marines out there. Didn't take too much tank fight because the Matrixes came down at the right time. And once again, Maru sits in a supply lead here in game number 2 with money in the bank to spend as well. And yeah, this Liberator just being so annoying, just keeping on getting in range, forcing tanks to relocate, reposition, just pushing ByuN back, and eventually at some point Maru's going to find a chance to get on top of a base of ByuN, be expanding back at home himself. And then again, his army is just that much better because ByuN was so much later on his transition.
Yeah. And this is one of those situations, too, where now it's even awkwardly like mid-transition for ByuN, right? Like, he's not winning the air war. That never happened. But then he's also not so Marine-heavy that that middle fights, like I was talking about, I think can happen anymore. Like, where you just have, like, 120 Marines that get a perfect surround, right? But now it's kind of half-seas. You're, like, not exactly winning the air war. You're not exactly super overall in supply on the ground, just throwing less valuable units at you. So you're just kind of, I feel like kind of in the worst of both worlds. Obviously still finding someone out of position, finding someone miscontrolling, finding tanks on siege. I mean, that all can still happen. I hate to be such a downer on ByuN's chances, but I mean, this is one of those Maru games where it's like, he's in the lead. He probably made the right decision, maybe theoretically, but it didn't matter. Maru's still going to win this one.
Yeah, man, these Ravens as well is going to get bullied by, of course, the Liberator, which is finally going to die. I mean, ByuN's been wanting to get rid of that for a while, but there's nothing stopping Maru just building a couple more. Medevacs dying before they unload that cargo into this main. Yeah, Maru might lose a Raven here, but overall, I think it's just still not going to be enough from ByuN. At least he is finding maybe something of an opening in that main, but he's not getting anywhere else. Maru has got the entire bottom side of the map pretty much locked up, just this bottom right base to take. And then he's just got bases for days, and again, it's really down to ByuN to, I suppose, find an opening. Even if they're both maxed out, it's just Maru's just so much more comfortable sitting back. He's traded way better. You know, ByuN kind of needs to be the one that finds a good fight still.
She's getting less and less likely the more that he has to retreat, go up his own ramp and do his own chokes. He's also getting tanks just taken down kind of one at a time there. Yeah, Maru is expanded to the very bottom right. I mean, ByuN's expanding as well to the top left, but it's more of a ticking time bomb for ByuN as far as letting Maru closer and closer. It's not a ticking time bomb. It's like, one of those Final Fantasy puzzles where like the wall is like coming at you, and you're like, oh my god, I have to kill it before it hits me. That's kind of what's happening. Maru will eventually get to ByuN's side of the map, and it's like, what do? You're gonna get crushed by the wall.
This tank is gonna be going 1-for-1, so not too great. Again, losing the Raven. This is the problem. You're just losing so much as ByuN repeatedly. Medevac's going down. The Marines can't be healed. He's trudging across the map and just trying to find a new position, but Maru tracks every single move he makes with scan after scan, sensor tower coverage. He's never realistically going to be so heavily out of position unless ByuN can heavily distract him one way or fool him or something, but how the heck's that going to happen?
Pretty hard to fool him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much tracking the army. I think things can get kind of weird if, ByuN decides to go for one of these outward bases. Like if he went to the bottom right, then Maru might be pulled like way to the right, and there might be an opening on that third base, which he has in the planetary. But as long as it really is also kind of more about the middle, it is just about Maru correctly tracking. And then also, if ByuN did decide to go for one of the bottom right bases, then Maru could maybe go through the middle, give up one base, but have time on his side kind of situation, initiate a base trade. That might still inevitably go in his favor.
Yep, as you do see, some Matrix is coming down. ByuN will make some progress forward, but the Vikings taking down a lot of the Ravens. The Marines will fight back, and Maru doesn't seem to have tank support just yet. They were Matrixed, and he is going to lose a few tanks as ByuN presses forward, so maybe this is a chance for ByuN to carve his way through at least a base, or maybe more. A few Marines starting to show up in response, and the difference still is just going to be Medevac healing at the moment. Anti-armor missile drops down and actually does give ByuN a little bit of an advantage to fight here. Chasing on forward, a Liberator isn't going to change things either.
Yeah, where are his tanks? Maru's going to lose his command center, which maybe isn't the biggest of deals, but he was at 11 at one point, now down to 5. Steadily lost out on his own, too. Some SCVs went down to a Liberator as well. That was a nice touch. Maru still has a tremendous bank, and as I said, is probably not going to be crying over this lost third command center. And there's not really too much of a fear of like a hop and either. That would be the biggest fear for me is like, oh, the third went down. Oh, well, then now the natural's open. That's not happening. Wow. Actually, that's a really interesting time to start your battle cruiser transition, because that was probably the worst situation Maru's had in like 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's the first fight he lost, right?
Yeah.
For like actually a long time. And now he's like, huh, now's the time to go BC. And there's going to be seeing ByuN going to try and take down those couple of Liberators. Tank siege in the bottom right. The tanks from ByuN now, oh, sorry, from Maru now getting in position. Starting to deal with this as we just have ByuN still holding that location, but I mean, as soon as a couple of BCs pop, that's going to be rough. The tanks bottom right will go down to Liberators as well. Vikings again just going to say, cool, some medevacs we can chip away at, try and push through.
Interesting stuff. Those battle cruisers are still on the way, man. So now there's more of maybe the time bomb, right? I wasn't pleased with my analogy earlier, but now I think it is maybe like it's about time. Battle cruiser numbers cannot get that high. I think when you get to 6 and they show them and the guy has no idea, that's really concerning. If you see like there's only 2 or maybe 3, I guess you can still do something about it. And ByuN is once again going to get a neat little drop on top of a bunch of tanks that were relatively unguarded while hitting a second location as well. I mean, these double-pronged attacks have been doing pretty well for ByuN in the last 2 or 3 minutes, but Maru still has enough economy to be okay and still has enough bank to be okay, and is still in the midst of a transition, which ByuN now knows about.
Yeah, the BCs, like I said, is kind of slowing Maru down a bit. So much of his tech is in the sky, so yeah, right now he's going to take some hits. He's going to maybe struggle on the ground a little, but when he gets to BCs, there is just no fighting back from ByuN. I mean, your best hope is to get, what, Marines underneath them. Upgrades are very good as well for the BCs, so they're going to be very hard to kill, very hard to deal with if they start to damage you. Right now, you're losing tanks in the middle, and yeah, we really are just, I feel like, a moment or two away from ByuN having a fight where he really just can't do anything about it. So that's why he's probably, again, realizing himself, I got to do something, stop this or something. So drop in the main base, go repeatedly. You just have to go, 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 never stop. Otherwise, this game is absolutely lost.
I love to imagine Terran players really thinking, you know, how in the world, what is the solution? Doom drops. More Doom drops.
Try to be where the BCs aren't.
Which kind of works for a little while, but I mean, you know, it pretty much never stops working, maybe until battle cruisers, then teleport is an option. And pure Marine's not going to really take down battle cruisers too often, not when they have what is going on 3-3 upgrades. But this bottom right base, it's been harassed. I think it's actually been the loss of like 20 plus SCVs just solely for this base. Well, that's finally going to die. So that's something for ByuN to feel good about, because again, he has also expanded. Like, he has been comfy on an income, not really so much a bank, because he's the one that's been trading a whole lot, but he's definitely had a consistent income. Just the battle cruiser numbers starting to get to that scary point with the great upgrades. Yeah, the options continue to expand for Maru, where the option for ByuN has kind of been the same for a while now.
Yeah, just no real way out of this is all these extra bases of ByuN. I mean, having an extra base or so is nice and all, but again, it's just he's so far back from being able to transition. And by the time he would transition, if he could get transition at all, it's just going to be at a point in the game where Maru's got bases back online, because he would have to give up so much pressure. This is a moment here from ByuN as he makes something try to happen, possibly, maybe, but there's just no way. He's got no Ravens, he's just got BCs to fight against, and at the same time, BCs are killing his bases on the other side. And again, there's just no real answer to that. He's got, what, 14 Marines and 3 Vikings on the map? Pretty sure these BCs stole all of that.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, top left is almost mined out. ByuN did a good job expanding there, but then actually stopped expanding, actually. So the income was good for him. We saw the income graph just a second ago. Now it is absolutely, well, it will be terrible. I think he just milled a bunch, right? So yeah, it will be. It's spiking even more. But it will eventually be. There are just not minerals for ByuN to mine. Maru has a superior army with 3 more battle cruisers coming in. Just in general, almost 70 more army supply. And that is going to be it. GG. Maru takes the 2-0 in a game where he didn't have stim until like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
super cool.
This should have been, you know, and I say this as a ByuN fan, but now it's like very hard to believe in ByuN in this series, right? Because that's his style. That's what he does. That's how he wins, right? And then he just can't break Maru repeatedly, can't get it done. Like you say, it's probably not a bad call to go Rax and just try to outmass him, and he just couldn't quite find the fight he needed to do so. And maybe that is just one engagement going slightly differently. Could have made all the difference. But again, it's the Maru factor, right? Like, he is just so good at surviving, drawing the game out, transitioning just after you lose a fight to BCs, right? And now you're on 6 BCs killing everything. So yeah, Maru looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's is absolutely a Maru thing, especially for TVT. I do think that he was, he still kind of has the, why can't this guy just die in TVZ and TVP as well? But it's really TVT, him plus the matchup. It's so damn difficult. And as you said, this is where you really feel like hopeless for ByuN. It's just like that was pretty much a perfect game for a lot of other Terrans. Like you could say that he could have made even more of a lead going back to that push into the natural had he not done that, and then it played out kind of how I hypothesized, which is like more of a contain. Then he has the stim lead and the base lead and everything else that he had, because he was at one point, literally we said, ahead in everything, and he's even more ahead there too. But it's like, we looked at that after the engagement, we're like, oh, he's still fine though.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that could have gone better, but I mean, what exactly is so good that Maru actually dies? Bunny knows, apparently. That's
yeah.
funny.
But it's just like, well, just won the game, you know?
Yeah, you just do the thing. No, it's so frustrating to go up against Sky and TVT. As I said, ByuN, I think, played good TVT, but especially when the tank count got up to like 11, so you really could half and half, third and fourth base, and at least bought you time for the other army to appear. It's just so hard to actually get that kill.
Well, I'm going into inside and out for what could be our last map of this TVT. I'm going to start down in the bottom left-hand corner with the purple Terran player that has a 2-0 lead from Onside Gaming, Maru.
In the top right for Shopify Rebellion, he is ByuN.
Maybe ByuN just needs to take the Y from his name, whack it on the end. Boom, he's Bunny, he can win!
Oh my god! Be like Booney or something though.
Booney.
Doesn't really work without the double N.
Hey, just double up on the N as well.
Oh, okay.
You're moving the Y, how bad can it be to add an N, right? I'm sure it's possible.
That's all we got.
That's all I've got, yeah. Cool.
Just change your name. That's how that works.
Yeah, maybe I was just terrified of rabbits.
You think that's what it is? This is some like, oh man, what was that? Oh man, you just unlocked like a really bad childhood memory. But the vampire rabbit? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna Google it.
You're gonna Google it? Okay. We are seeing 2 racks from Maru, so this is a very Reaper-friendly map. Lots of space around the main to jump in and out of. So it's
Panicula. You didn't read that?
I just never seen that.
A rabbit tale of mystery, guys. You gotta look at this cover, by the way. It's amazing.
Yeah, okay. You somewhat terrifying. I don't even want to know what the contents are, but I
mean, I'm pretty sure I read it, and it is actually just like a horror.
Just a vampire.
Yeah, it's literally a rabbit that kills you and sucks your blood. Maybe he read it as a kid and he's just terrified of bunnies. I think you're on something.
I'm gonna ask him after the series. You ever had read this book about the vampire bunny? Maru's face goes like pale. He's like, oh my god, no. Runs out the building.
You don't expect any reaction, but actually the color trains in his face. He starts looking around, panicking. He shoves Spear Dragon out of the way. Yeah, anyways, yeah, T-Rex. I think for Maru, this is more of a safety thing, right? It's possible ByuN proxy racks his heal or Reapers him. This is not a build that's super committed from Maru. You can easily transition away from this. Yeah, you're going to have a few more Reapers. It plays a bit differently. But the stars you can play. You're a couple of games up. I don't mind just being a bit safe here early, especially when you're looking so good in the later stages. Yeah, I guess that actually does cover that as well. So, I mean, they follow up. Going into 2-1-1, having a bit more of the control of the game than actually Maru has had. Because Maru's done the aggressive openers, but then really done like the, I don't know if I call it chill, but the typical tank Raven more on the defense. Medevac last game didn't actually end up panning out, but start a little bit of aggression with the Reapers here. And go into the 2-1-1, as we saw in the ByuN Gumiho series. And I could actually see Maru even getting a quick 3-0 with that, not having to play out the super late game. Yeah. We'll see if that actually is his intention anyways.
Yeah, it ends up going 1 Reaper for 1 Reaper, which is actually pretty good considering you're still building the Reapers, right? So you still have the pressure you can apply. So Maru is going to be coming in with extra Reapers, a Hellion production of his own. And yeah, this actually could be a little scary for ByuN, especially, I mean, the Starport building a Medevac, some counterattack potential, sure, but right here and now, he might start to get outmassed a little bit. There's going to be another Reaper in trouble straight away. The Hellion taking a few shots for free. This is bad. The Marines are not going to stand up too strong against this. The Reapers drop, the Marines drop, and Maru is going to have control of the main base. SCVs will be dropping, and I think this is a sad ending for ByuN.
Yeah, I was thinking that like the 2-on-1 portion, but this apparently is gonna.
Yeah,
gonna
Just
end
this
right
part's doing pretty good as well.
Yeah, apparently.
And now he's got Hellions as well to run up the front, and another Reaper to show up, and Marines have to jump into the medevac. That's not fun.
Come on. Stop it.
let him play, Maru.
Yeah, let him play, exactly. He's kicking over sandcastles, man.
He's kicking over sandcastles.
He's a bully.
Never heard that phrase before, but I love it.
ByuN, not even within the second orbital, down 9 workers, still dealing with harassments.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to hype up this one, right? There's been Hellions having fun on the natural expansion. There was originally a Widow Mine that got an initial kill and then got killed itself, and then the SCVs and the natural still in trouble. And Maru just sits up 14 workers, and ByuN will be hard-pressed to do much here. I kind of like the Banshee. You know, you got to do something. So the Banshee is a way, at least, for you to maybe find success. Otherwise, you're just playing down 14 workers, and we all know how that goes.
Right. Yeah, there's something to be said about changing the compositions up. If you play the exact same thing as your opponent and they have more stuff, generally that means the other guy wins, you know? I would say in TVT, you know, that's something that Maru mid to late game is like, no, that's not the case. Just do the exact same thing, but defensive prowess, like, we're fine. But this early on, this far down, even Maru, I don't think could just look at it and be like, well, if I just play perfectly from here on out.
Yeah.
Like, even he would also try and do a risky take, such as Banshees. It just really is unfortunate because Banshees on, you know, scale of like 1 to DTs for comeback maneuvers, they're Banshees. They're like they're like a 3 or a 4. There's like really low chance they're gonna do that much damage.
No, absolutely. Especially in a matchup where you don't see Cloak Banshees because, well, they're Raven. You know, and there's a Cyclone out as well for Maru, so yeah, the first one might get a couple kills, the units get in position, then it's more often than not a dead Banshee. So let's find out. Cloak will be done soon. Banshees will be setting up to go. Right now, it does feel as though Maru with a 14-worker lead is looking to book his ticket into tomorrow here in TSL 9. Day number 2 of our offline portion, and that would be, of course, at that point, top 6 of the tournament.
Yeah, Maru actually had kind of rough start to TSL. We were wondering what was going to happen, and he kicked it into overdrive. Well, for a couple of TVZs in the lower brackets, and it was like, oh, okay, he's fine. But then he went to get hero, and that actually looked very sketch. Now he seems to be once again on the road to victory, making this TVT look easy unless ByuN can really pull a rabbit out of his hat. We literally have a hat with a rabbit in it.
Oh my goodness.
How are we not on camera?
Wow.
Well, you know what? If he does, though, I could do it as a prop.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want him to
No,
win.
CG, you're not allowed to touch props. Because every time you do, you throw probes around the studio. And
I would never throw a bunny.
Well, I don't know how to read in the Vampire Bunny Diaries.
Diaries?
Why, same thing, I'm sure.
You think that's what happened in the Vampire Diaries?
What?
Did you say the Vampire Diaries for a bunny?
I said the Vampire Bunny Diaries.
Yeah, that's what you said.
That's what I said. I can't remember the name of the thing. I just feel like I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm just not saying it. I'm just going to...
I'm imagining like 16-year-old like teenage bunnies, you know, just in a love triangle.
Meanwhile, Maru's in some genuine trouble somehow because he's losing all his SCVs.
Oh no. Well, good thing I'm going to even use the props. Finally, Maru comes in to say something. 18 SCVs, though, did go down. So ByuN now has a 12-worker lead. Third CC, only just starting on location, though. So I know that might look like ByuN just brought it back, but still kind of no.
I'm just looking at you in disbelief for a few moments, and then all of a sudden ByuN's winning the game. All we had to do was turn away. Anything was possible as these Banshees, man, continue to deal damage, cloaked up. Maru is pressing forward, though he's coming through, and he's killing a lot of ByuN's units. Cool, so Maru just has too much army supply and wins the game. It got scary for a moment.
It did.
You know, for a little while he still was behind on workers at the end. For a little while I kind of believed, but yeah, Maru is going to get the W. Turns off the hand fan and is going to be 3-0ing his way through to the top 6 of Shopify's TSL 9.
Yeah, I mean, It's been like 2 or 3 years, guys. Like TVT, Maru. What
He's
else?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel really bad for ByuN. His immediate meeting to Maru. That sucks, man.
it does suck, but I mean, the thing is as well, it's like, it feels like, it's like, man, ByuN, he won one match and now he's out, but you have to remember this is like still top 8 for him, right? Like out of a 32-player tournament, it's still a pretty strong result. It's just this offline portion itself is the, well, the shorter part, right?
Yeah,
so we're already like
fine.
6 days in and all of that. Because yeah, ByuN is looking at that moment right there. That is kind of rough. I just don't know. That first fight just has to go a bit better, right? You can't just go 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is kind of tough. You just need the Reaper DPS. He's making Marines out of a reactor. He needs a couple SCVs, I would guess, to just help him solidify there and to make life just that little bit easier. As yeah, ByuN watching it over a couple times.
Yep.
Not looking good.
Feels bad, man. And obviously that third game was determined by that, but there's so many moments that he could look over and just
especially.
exactly, just say, oh, if only that, if only that, if only that, and you get just increasingly more angry. So yeah, that sucks. That sucks. It's just the way it goes for ByuN, but for Maru, I guess now kind of living up to the expectation for any tournaments, which is actually getting to the top of the line, top 6, I guess, in this case, but then potentially moving on even more. As he said, it was a little bit scary at the beginning of this tournament, over a month ago is when we started, but he is back on the road to potentially even winning TSL 9.
Yeah, which is fantastic to see. Always good to see Maru playing well as he is continuing through this event. I actually think he's got a nicer portion of the bracket now, because there is a portion which gets a Sterile or a Raynor, I believe, and don't take this for granted, but I believe he's on the other side of that, so that would be nice for him if true, but I'll go check on that. I will pretend it's true for now, and throw it to the analysts, and they will analyze that TVT.
We'll try our best to analyze that TVT for you, Wardy. Welcome back to the Shopify Super Analyst Chairs. Once again, I'm joined here by Dario Tielo Wunsch, our resident TVT expert.
Oh,
this is Lambo doesn't like Terran as much.
I'm very familiar with the current meta as well.
Yeah, no, you had some good input. We were watching it backstage. I was like, lots of smart things. You can see that the 6 racks that you once invented, that creativity is still there.
So technically, I didn't invent it. Shout out to TeamLiquid Mango from back in the days.
TLO invented it.
Okay.
Mango can suck it. TLO used it first. All right, let's hop into the first game on Tropical Sacrifice. If we're gonna get stabbed in the next 2 days, we know it's Mango.
Yeah.
All right, what do we have here? Oh, would you look at that? So this was the first real action in this game. And we saw ByuN just waiting for a bit with a lot of Marines outside, delaying his CC, but building it on the low ground. And Maru felt somewhat pressured to move down to take his own third command center. And honestly, here I kind of believed it was over. ByuN just pulls ahead. The bad part is that he doesn't have a tank anymore. If there's still a tank alive for him at this point, I think he just sieges up and straight up wins the game, right?
Yeah, it'll take forever to take the natural back, and then the 3-base mining should really pull ahead. Even now, like, ByuN is looking great, so we felt pretty confident for our Rebellion Terran player at this point. However, you can never count out Maru, of course, and he goes for a pretty fast counterattack. The issue here is ByuN doesn't have combat shield. Maru gets a pretty good siege up, takes out the 2 tanks.
Can we pause here for a second?
Yeah, let's pause for a second.
Okay. So what's going on here? We see one interference matrix tank. The one on the right is also in siege range, and the top tank is also interference matrix. Then that kind of means that ByuN is forced to attack into this position, right? Or he's going to lose 3 tanks for basically free. He doesn't have combat shield, and he can't really form a great concave. So
yeah, those rocks that are so usually used to defend your third base here actually become a liability for ByuN, and he has to attack into it, and this angle just becomes way better for Maru.
Yeah, we can let this fight roll, and then basically this happens without combat shield, with a terrible position. There we go. I mean, yeah, all the tanks basically get taken out, and Maru does have the stim, does have the combat shield. So despite being down in supply, this fight just becomes so darn good for Maru. And once Maru is ahead in this matchup, it almost feels impossible for ByuN to get back, especially with the playstyles that they have, right? ByuN wants to be the one in control, the one with map control, make aggressive rotation, and the moment he loses that ability, I think Maru just shows that he's a superior TVT player.
Yeah, ByuN always has been a very momentum-based TVT player, trying to outmaneuver your opponent, but against Maru, I think that's just very, very difficult to actually get that finishing blow.
Yeah. It worked against Gumiho, but Maru actually does build a lot of sensor towers and loves building Vikings as well defensively. And yeah, I mean, from this point on out, the game is pretty much over. Then our second game on Data C. What do you have over here? Ooh, some early medevac action it was. Right, this was a really cool little sequence here that ByuN went for. So you have this little drop that was dealing a bit of damage. I think the Raven comes in the near future in the main base as well. I think we even saw this all first-person view during this series. And once again, ByuN actually kind of feels like he's pulling ahead in kind of a big way. Here he was up 20 supply. And he just continues dealing damage. He's in control. This game feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, getting early damage done. You're hoping that's going to transition into the later stages of the game. ByuN has a faster third base. He has 8 more workers, up almost 20 supply. But once again, TVT is pretty difficult to actually finish games. ByuN is trying to do another push out here, knowing, late game against Maru is pretty difficult. So I love that decision by him. We're going to see how that plays out in a moment here, but once again, the big difference between the match against Gumiho is Maru is getting that sensor tower. He's already getting Vikings. He's already putting up turrets. So those kind of drops that ByuN loves to try to get even further ahead in the game are more easily shut down.
Yeah. I did like that initial stim snipe, and then we saw the second stim snipe also come in here out of ByuN. He's throwing away some units for it, but he still had that supply lead. He had more workers going in, so sniping stim twice. Not only does that delay stim massively, but also combat shield by an absolutely huge deal. And basically between 8 minutes and I want to say this point, Maru can do absolutely nothing. He can take an aggressive engagement because his combat shield isn't done yet. You can't move across the map if your Marines have no HP whatsoever. And then this is the point in the game where, in my mind, Maru stabilizes. ByuN is still really far ahead, mind you. He's mining from a 5th, has way more money in the bank, is up in supply. 3-3 is way quicker as well, but Maru stabilizes, and that's an absolute key moment in this game.
Can we pause for 1 second here, because I think it's important to point out ByuN kind of fell in this trap that you do sometimes in StarCraft 2, where you try to keep doing damage. You have more eco, your army is bigger, but you're still going for those SCV kills or trying to take out a base, while your opponent is basically building a more and more powerful army. And I think what would have made a big difference here is potentially ByuN actually just going for it. It's super scary in TVT because going into tanks, but at some point you either need to transition or you just need to fully commit and win an army fight, because if not, the opponent's army is just getting scarier. You already have a gigantic Raven count, Vikings are out like crazy, and the main base is basically fully covered in turrets. So let's continue from here.
Yeah, and ByuN has a slightly different plan. Instead, what ByuN tries to do is he basically tries to force bad defensive rotations out of Maru, often by dropping in the main base. We can see one of these drops trying to be set up over here, then attacking on the right side, or trying to drop towards the right side and then running in towards the third base that Maru has set up. And I think we're going to see one fight here. Oh, this is an absolute banger of a fight here out of ByuN. This kind of showed that he wanted to break. I was like, all right, I have a 3-3 timing. I know I have way more supply, or at least slightly more supply. He stims in here without Ravens, without medevacs, and gets completely blasted. And we were saying that, well, basically a minute ago, ByuN was quite far ahead. Here he kind of throws that lead away. He still has probably slightly more map control, still has the better upgrades. It's difficult for Maru to move out, but Maru now is basically even. After being really far behind in the first 13 minutes of the game, it only takes one good fight for Maru to truly get back into it. And if we can take a look at the next clip, this is basically what ByuN tries to do. He tries to take out outside bases and then force himself into another base, see if he can kill more SCVs. He actually managed to do a great job there, killing more and more SCVs, taking out bases, but the units lost must have looked absolutely terrible here, because he also kept losing more and more army, and at the same time Maru's army supply was actually growing. Only 49 workers, way better upgrades as well on ship weapons as well as vehicle plating, so transitioning into Vikings, which ByuN does try to do, is not actually that viable.
Yeah, it would be absolutely impossible. And even though ByuN had a giant income advantage, that doesn't really matter if you're losing way more units. And at this point, even if you hurt Maru's economy, it doesn't matter. He has a bank, he's established on 5 bases. So losing a base, it doesn't really have any impact on how an army composition is going to look like at that point. And fighting 3-3 battle cruisers just with Marines, that's not going to be working. So ByuN tries to do his best while the battle cruisers are gone, trying to get a superior fight here, but anti-armor missiles, a few tanks, and still Vikings and the Battlecruiser position wreck this fight, and from here, ByuN doesn't really have a winning condition anymore.
Yeah, so that game is practically over. And in our final game that we had, we see these 3 Reapers move in against... this is the second jump in already. So here ByuN already lost that first Reaper in the initial engagement. And I think there was a mine in the natural, so no second Hellion, followed up by a tech lab. I think there's 2 things here that could have happened. Either ByuN doesn't lose one of the 2 Reapers in the initial engagement, or he has to get a second Hellion down here, and then maybe give up the natural if Maru decides to go in towards the natural for a little bit. But yeah, defending like this is simply not possible against the build order that Maru decided to go for. He'll just kind of dies here. Very sad way to go. It felt like the build orders matched up okay-ish for him here. I mean, 2 gas against a 2 barracks, and yeah, he figured it out pretty fast. He had a good setup initially, but yeah, the execution just simply wasn't here. It was just, what, 12 SCVs. That's too many against a player like Maru, and eventually is forced to tap out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ByuN is trying to actually make magic happen at the end here, trying to go for a triple prong attack. He had 2 Banshees going for frontal attacks, so, you know, really making the best out of what he had in the situation. And for a while, it's looking like ByuN is maybe doing enough, but the problem is 1-1 upgrades are already in production for Maru. There's a 3rd CC, so it's really a gigantic mountain that ByuN would have to climb here. I have to give him kudos. I think he made the absolute best out of the situation, and recognizing he needs to make something like that happen. I don't think a Banshee was, you know, the play he was going to go for. But in the end, even if Maru loses a lot of workers here, it unfortunately was not quite enough to make the difference in the end.
Yeah, ByuN still on 1 barracks as well, right? No stim on the way, no combat shield. Doesn't even have a tech lab on any barracks right now, and once this gets cleaned up, yeah, 1-1 upgrades coming in soon. The series actually completely ends. Maru once again showing complete dominance in Terran versus Terran, despite ByuN looking pretty good against Gumiho, but yeah, Maru is just a different level of player. I think this is pretty much going to be it for us for this little series, and we might be throwing it over to Ravi for a winner's interview with Maru.
Thank you so much, Kevin. You are 50% correct. You did, in fact, come over to me, but it's not a winner's interview. It is, in fact, a winner and loser interview. We have both Maru and also ByuN here. Congratulations, Maru. So sorry, ByuN. So I guess let's start it off. You guys were talking with each other after game 1. What were you guys talking to each other about?
네. 먼저 요정우 선수 축하하고요. 경기 내내 계속 대화를 주고받는 것 같던데 어떤 얘기를 했었나요?
저 사실 기억이 잘 안 나는데 저 형이 말해줄 거예요.
Maru says he doesn't remember what he said, but ByuN will tell you.
서로 그 바둑 같은 거 보면은 한 경기 끝날 때마다 서로 이렇게 모여서 얘기하고 그러잖아요. 검토하고 그러잖아요. 뭐 한 경기 끝날 때마다 뭐 내가 이런 실수를 했다, 이거 아니었으면 내가 이겼다, 그런 얘기를 했어요. 네.
Okay. He says that, you know, if you watch like people play Go, what happens often is that after a set, people come together, the players will come together and they'll talk about, oh, you know, I did this wrong, I did this right, this is why I won, this is why I lost. So it was that kind of talk. Okay.
Very civil. I like it. Well, game number 2, it felt like actually ByuN was able to get into like a good position. Seemed like he was in a good spot, but then Maru just ended up turtling. So Maru, do you feel like just you always have in the back pocket that you can just bring the game out and draw the game out and always just win in the late game no matter how far behind you fall?
이 경기에서 되게 불리한 상황이었는데 결국에는 수비하면서 이겨냈어요. 그래서 본인이 생각할 때 그냥 나는 좀 불리하더라도 그냥 엎어지고 좀 후반 가면 무조건 이긴다 이런 생각을 하고 있나요?
그거보다 스팀이 2번이나 깨져가지고 할 수 있는 게 버티는 거밖에 없었는데 현우 형이 좀 급하게 해줘서 좀 맞물린 것 같아요.
Yeah, so he says, well, what happened was that basically, you know, his STEM research got canceled twice, so he basically had no choice but to play that way. But ByuN, he played a bit hastily, and you know, because of that, he was able to win. 변현아 선수, 그 경기 어땠나요?
일단은 뭐 아쉽긴 한데 그 하면서 제가 상대가 그 조성주인 거를, 그러니까 마루인 거를 좀 간과했던 것 같아요. 다른 테란이었으면은 웬만하면 다 끝났을 상황에서 버티는 거 보고 뭐 좀 잘 버티네, 어차피 내가 이길 텐데 했는데 진짜 마루는 마루더라고요. 제가 조금 근데 경기하면서 제 경기력도 뭐 나쁘지 않았다고 생각해가지고 조금 졌지만 기분이 좋은 그런 경기였던 것 같아요. 되게 아쉽긴 하지만.
Yeah, he says that, you know, in that situation, he should have remembered, yeah, it's Maru, not any other Terran. Because if it was any other Terran, he would just eventually beat him. He would have thought, hey, you know, you're doing pretty well to hold out this long, but I'll beat you in the end. But yeah, he was playing against Maru, and that's kind of what happens.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to take this as a fun opportunity to ask one last question, which is, do you guys have any final words for each other?
그냥 이 경기 마치고 서로한테 해주고 싶은 이야기 있으세요?
운 좋게 이겨서 미안하다고 해요.
Okay, Maru says, yeah, I'm sorry I got lucky and I beat you. I just happened to beat you.
뭐 방금 마루가 말했듯이 운 좋게 이긴 게 맞고요. 제가 제가 절대 실력으로 졌다고 생각 안 하고 다음에 만나면은 진짜 아작을 진짜 내버리겠습니다.
Yeah, ByuN says, no, I definitely agree. That was definitely lucky. Not a skill loss at all. And you know, next time he's definitely going to beat Maru.
Not a skill loss at all, he says. Well, we'll see if that's going to be the case. That is going to be it. Congratulations to Maru as he is going to be advancing on to the next round. We will be back with our next series in just a little bit. It's going to be Solar versus Hero Marine. Stay tuned.